Well, aloha, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to NXT. No, not NXT 8 years back. About once every few weeks I do that, Nate. It's too much. PWT talks NXT. A show with a lot of people on it. But in terms of like number of scenes, it wasn't all that busy. Um, we just had 4 matches tonight, and then we had a whole lot of stuff surrounding the TNA versus WWE show that will be coming in 7 days' time. This will be like their third special event in 2 weeks. But what are you going to do? They do what they do, and they kind of program what they kind of program. Anyway, we've got Ricky Starks leading the team, Trick Williams kind of weaseling his way into co-captain, Miles Bourne, who had to beat Josh Briggs to get in there, and Javon Evans against Mike Santana, Frankie Kazarian, Moose, and Leon Slater. Tonight was the first time I saw him. I'm going to have a lot of real nice things to say.
You and me both. You and me both.
Yeah. JC Jane, Sol Ruka, Jada Parker, and Lola Vice versus former NXT. Kalani Jordan, Jessie McKay, Cassie Lee, and Mara Sade. So the recently departed Jakara Jackson and the not at all recently departed Inspiration, formerly known as the Iconics. So kind of I don't want to say NXT light. TNA have been there for quite, the Iconics have been there for quite a while. So definitely feel like a TNA act, and they look very different from how long they are, how long they've been gone. Ryan Solorio is saying the quiet part out loud here. Yes, there is. They made Showdown to counter AEW that is airing live next Tuesday. Yes, I know that, and I wrote the counter programming thing in my report. And would have gotten to that one way or another. So there is that also. I'm just happy these are going to be Survivor Series style matches. I think I'm the last person who actually prefers Survivor Series style matches to War Games matches. I just love them, and I think you can tell so many different stories with them, which is also true of War Games matches. I understand why you only want one or the other, but I think there's room for both, considering how many shows this company does. Anyway, Nate, I guess just start with that closing segment, the summit, which was just people putting each other over. Ava in the ring trying not to smile when Trick tutted her down, and not doing a great job of it. She was very, very close to breaking character there. Santino in there early in the show mispronouncing everybody's name because that's his thing and it's great. So yeah, the summit. Start with the summit, and I guess almost every segment feeds into this. So go where you go, and I'll try to follow you.
I'll just start talking and I'll throw it back to you in like an hour or so. No, so first off, I do want to mention this. Derek again saying one of the quiet things out loud. The show going from Invasion to Showdown because of the I guess political backlash due to the October 7th date and invasions over in Israel in the past, and I'm not going to get into all of that, but there's that. I think it's kind of stupid, but whatever. The segment itself, though, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was exactly what I thought it was going to be. Just a lot of people from both sides kind of brawling and trying to put each other over and things like that. I don't know. I was talking a little bit with Jobin about this on Discord before we jumped on here. But it's like, and actually Gene says it here in the chat. The NXT women's match is essentially an NXT match, and as Kelly just said, the Inspiration, former Iconics, they have been gone from NXT and WWE as a whole for long enough where, yes, it does feel like a TNA act. But when you've got other TNA acts like the Elegance brand or the Angel Warriors or, Alicia Edwards or I mean, there's a whole bunch of other people, other women in TNA that I feel like could have fit the bill a little bit better than. I don't even know what her new name is. Jakara Jax was something
Mara
with Sade.
Sade.
Okay.
Mara
Uh,
Sade, like the singer Sade.
all right, Mara Sade. I don't know. I mean, she's been gone. I mean, geez, not that long. So I mean, it does. And then obviously, Kalani Jordan as their TNA Women's Champion. So it does. It just feels like WWE's doing their thing where they kind of push their talent a little bit. I don't know. Whether that's the case or not, I don't know. But perception is everything, and I think a lot of people are going to be talking about that. Um, that said, I think both matches are going to be great. Like you alluded to earlier, Leon, I almost called him Leon Ruff. What the heck's his last name?
Slater.
Slater, thank you. Leon Slater, he like absolutely incredible. He's not on the, is he on? Yeah, he is. He's on the team. Um, Absolutely incredible. Like I've seen clips of him on YouTube and Reddit and things like that. YouTube Shorts, just sitting there mindlessly scrolling. But this is the first time I've actually seen him in a match. Holy crap! I want to see more out of Javon Evans and Leon as a tag team. I cannot wait for Bound for Glory. I will be there in attendance. I was the Hardys versus the Dudleys. That was the match I was going for, but man, now this might be the match I'm going for. Um, but anyway, getting back to the summit here. I think I like the men's team quite a bit. Mike Santana feels TNA. Frankie Kazarian is TNA. Moose again is TNA, and then Leon Slater. He's a little bit of a new blood in TNA, but definitely makes sense and kind of feels. He's not a former NXT guy. None of them are former NXT guys, unlike the women, which is essentially an entire NXT team. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this next week. I think the entire show should be entertaining. I again, we've seen how WWE books invasion, or should I say showdowns in the past. My hope here is, and Vic and Booker T talked about this quite a bit on commentary throughout the course of the night, how NXT has kind of gotten one up on TNA, over and over again. Even saying that, what the heck's the name of the TNA president? I can't think of his name right now. But how he's had to basically hold up the hand of NXT talents who have won their titles 3 times now. So I'm kind of hoping that this invasion leads into a big win for TNA. I think it'll help put the TNA talent over, probably help get a few more eyeballs on TNA. But I think it's just overall going to make for better and compelling TV. And then you can keep that storyline going, or maybe NXT gets their win back or something. I don't know. But I really think it's time for TNA to be able to kind of get that moment. And I feel like the momentum that they're trying to build right now with the TNA wrestlers is leading to that. I could be wrong, but that's my gut instinct right now.
Derek Mitchell says, I've seen many invasion-style angles or companies align Pro Wrestling USA collaborating to battle WWF, USWA versus CWA, ECW versus USWA, and the 2001 invasion angle. For some reason, they all fall short. They all do, and for some reason, they all make money. Like Invasion is the best grossing. I don't know if this is still true, but I think it is. I think it's the highest buy rate that a non-Big Four pay-per-view ever got, and the show is not good. I've watched it semi-recently. It's not very good. It's got a couple of good moments, but a lot of bad ones. Yeah, invasions typically don't work because one side's got all the power, and that's pretty true here. One side does have just way more bargaining power, way more cachet than the other. but they know that these things sell regardless of the fact that none have really ever delivered. So, but this could kind of work because it's an invasion in the way that NWO invaded WCW. They
Yep.
were they were essentially together. This isn't quite that, but it's not. It every week it seems less far off. It is odd to see so many people. I mean, we even saw Indy Hartwell in a big moment tonight because she's the one who was the special referee.
Yep.
Kalani won that match, and she reluctantly held up Kalani's arm. Yeah, lots of recent uh, recent releases there. Goodfella says Moose pins Miles Bourne, set up a feud, and saves Santana pinning Trick for the match. Yeah, that's the best thing about Survivor Series matches is that they can end feuds, but they can also start them. So you can get, depending on how it's booked, you've got your next month or two of TV planned out, all coming out of that. So I guess the question is, do they just do this invasion next week and then quietly phase it out and go back to just doing a few TNA acts at a time? I think probably. Um, I I don't know. I think that this will be quick, this storyline, but if nothing else, we'll always have tonight, and I really liked tonight. Let me talk about my favorite thing that happened tonight, and that was Mustafa Ali. He showed up and he cut a promo about, and I wondered because he was going for the NXT North American Championship. I wondered if he'd bring up the fact that he was supposed to have a shot at that, and then he was fired, and they just acted like the match had never been booked, and whoever was the champion, and I can't remember who it was, ended up defending against somebody else at the show. So there you go. Yeah, I really liked Mustafa's fire here. He just had the crowd eating out of the palm of his hand, and although I think he's tweenerish heel in TNA, he's definitely the babyface in this storyline. Anybody would be against Ethan Page because he's that good at being the bad guy. But Ali really, really had fire here. And that chip on his shoulder from the fact that he was supposed to have this match. So what a cool thing that they can actually pay off his North American Championship challenge, which was supposed to be a No Mercy a couple of years ago. Oh yes, it was Dom.
He said it was. Oh, that's right, Dom. Yeah.
And Dom,
he said it was 2 years ago today.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Gosh, 2 years since Dom did that. I suppose time does fly sometimes. So
that it does.
But anyway, the Page and Ali thing, that was my favorite thing of the show. I think that was that the crossover? No, the crossover was Bourne and Briggs, the match. But on Page and Ali, and then maybe we'll get to one of those 4 matches.
No, I really liked this too. My favorite thing on the show was the tag match with Leon and Javon, but this definitely ranks up there. It's no secret Mustafa Ali is an incredible talent. I'm a big fan. I feel like he was very, very, very underrated and underutilized while in the WWE. Granted, they tried to give him some sort of a push with Retribution, but we try not to think about that as well. I really like the fact that they're actually able to play this off. The fact that he was supposed to have this match, 2 years ago against Dom for the NXT North American title. And now years later, he's able to come back as part of a different company, different organization, and then cut this promo that I feel like that was a worked shoot promo type of a thing. I mean, it probably wasn't, but man, he spoke from the heart. Very like those things are probably some stuff that he's been thinking and probably even said in the shower or bathroom mirror looking at himself in the weeks following his original departure or something like that. I thought it was great. Him versus Ethan Page is going to be off the charts. I mean, I've never seen the two of them wrestle before. Don't know if they've wrestled before, but I got to imagine they're going to have some great chemistry together. I I think realistically Ethan Page retains, but man, there is a big part of me that wants to see Mustafa Ali take this title and then hold it and then continue to cut promos like this in NXT that kind of emboldens him, impassions him, and just turns him into maybe like I mean, some sort of an anti-hero or an unsung hero, something like that. And then he can go back to TNA after a couple months or something like, something along those lines. But so far, like for what we got tonight, I really like it, and I'm hoping it's not the end for Mustafa Ali in NXT during this TNA crossover, or at least for now. I mean, he certainly could come back in a year if it's still going on or whatever. But yeah, definite thumbs up for me here, and I think Ethan Page kind of you played this off pretty well too. Like he's better than him, and he doesn't belong here anymore. He being Mustafa Ali doesn't belong here anymore. So yeah, overall, definite thumbs up for me. And I think there's definitely few places they could go from here that could be very compelling for the North American title.
Derek Mitchell says, I'm glad Mustafa Ali has rebuilt himself from the awful retribution angle in 2019 to 20. Ryan Solorio says, Mustafa is running with an angle he started in NXT, which is cool. This politician angle was something he wanted to do for a long time. And the rumble at the time when he was let go was that the company wasn't keen to put him on the Fox network as a politician who a lot of Fox viewers would be scared of. That was what was said at the time, and I don't remember how much water that held, but I know that was something that that a lot of people were talking about, and they weren't as on board with the politician gimmick, which is weird to me because they've done them before. Not usually for very long, but they've done politic-like gimmicks, and they had JBL bring a lot of his into things, especially when he was feuding with Eddie Guerrero, stuff like that.
Patrolling the border.
Yeah, just weird stuff that they did that I can't believe was on a wrestling show, but it was. You're right. The best thing on this show was that tag match, Javon Evans and Leon Slater versus The Calling. I feel like I needed a cigarette after that, and I quit smoking in 2002. That was crazy. Evans and Slater defeating The Calling at 10:50. I don't know where to start with this. The production of Slater is really interesting. He did, I think it was a plancha or maybe a rolling senton out of the ring, and the cameraman was positioned under the corner so they could get him all the way out, landing on those two guys. And that was
insane.
I've never seen, I don't know why I've never seen that now. And maybe they're doing that spot in TNA and they just told the cameraman how they shoot it. And this is part of what makes Leon Slater so special. This is one of those things where he's so exciting, they might want him. But on the other hand, they might say, well, we do have Javon Evans and we don't want two guys that are really kind of doing the same thing. But I think you can't have too many of a good thing. I would just maybe consider throwing money at this guy when that contract is up. But yeah, this is these two guys against each other is going to be a joy, and together they were a joy. And good job by The Calling to just allow these guys to create movement around them. They didn't have to do much. but they did it all correctly. They just were
Yeah.
basically meat puppets for these guys to crash into over and over and over. It's the perfect team for them to go over. Just lots of fun there. And then a little mini story outside where Izzy Dame confiscated the Lyra Valkyria Barbie doll that Tatum Paxley was very proudly playing with. So lots of lots of very cool stuff there. So 10 minutes 50 seconds. This was your Iron Man match of the week. I can't say enough good things about this match, Nate.
Neither can I. Like, if they were to actually pick up Leon Slater, I mean, because I agree with you. Like, you don't necessarily want to have two guys that are very similar. I mean, they're both, young, and they're the same build, and they have very similar move sets. But man, I think if you were to bring him on, you put the two of them together in a tag team, and if they do what they did tonight on a consistent basis, holy crap, they're going to get over. And then of course, you separate them, you make single stars and all of that out of them. But man, I would love to see that. Absolutely love to see that. This match, if you haven't seen it, if you're just listening to this to get a recap of what happened tonight, go out of your way to watch this match. Absolutely phenomenal. Like Kelly said, I think the Culling was a great tag team for them to go over and for them to actually have this moment with. I was even saying to myself in the match, like, I'm not a big fan of Nico Vance, right? Like, I forget his name. If, like, tomorrow I won't remember his name. Today I remember it because they said it. And that's unfortunately kind of where he is in NXT right now. He's just that other guy in the Culling. But I was watching him tonight, and like he was bumping really, really well for for him I think in the moment I'm thinking of, I think it was against Leon Slater. Yeah, I could sit here and talk for a while about this match. I'm not gonna. But I am, like I said earlier, I'm so looking forward to Bound for Glory. Like, this match in particular between the two of them. And then I also I also think, considering that they're on opposite teams next week, they're going to have some great moments next week during that Survivor Series style match. So yeah, massive thumbs up for me. I would love to see Leon Slater make it over to WWE. But either way, I just hope for the best, for success for both of them, he and Javon.
Derek Mitchell says, I'll say this as a black man that I've been watching wrestling for a long time. I enjoy watching NXT because they use people of color very well, which hasn't translated on the main roster. Yeah.
Yep.
I have seen a lot of posts on Black Twitter, what have you, kind of celebrating Shawn Michaels and the way that he has really utilized this talent. And I feel like the main roster is going to have a big reckoning here, because there's never been so much good black talent in NXT. And there's a lot more in Evolve, by the way, like a lot more. So there's a lot of talent coming up, and they have a chance to reverse what has become the trend for them become the trend. I mean, it has been a trend for them for a really long time of underutilizing that. So I think that it's going to be very interesting to see what happens because some of these guys are can't miss. Trick Williams is can't miss. But Obafemi is like, he's the very definition of can't miss. He's like, if you screw him up, then you might as well pack it up, because he's just a ready-made main eventer. So yeah, this is where were we? Were we talking about a match? Yeah, we were. We were talking about the main event, kind of the main event. Ryan Solorio really wants me to say, I repeat, protect Tyra at all costs. Yeah, Tyra, she wasn't out there this week, was she? Unless she was somewhere.
I think actually, no, it might have been a video package I saw her in. She might have been out in the ruckus But there were so many people out there, and plus I was kind of trying to keep my eye out for TNA talent over NXT talent. But
Ryan Slorio says, I watch wrestling 5 days a week. I cannot squeeze Evolve in my week. LOL. Yeah, I think that I have because I cover NXT. And so it informs a lot of what I see when people are coming up. When Kendall Gray is coming up, I know who she is as much as anybody knows who she is because she has no gimmick. But I know who these talents are when they start making the jump. I am close to caught up. I am 1.5 episodes behind. Last week, I think I was 4 episodes behind. Nikita Lyons got back on TV. She weaseled her way into a championship match and made it a 3-way, and then she got pinned in the match. So she was out there. She hadn't been on TV for a month or so, and then she ate the pin. There you go.
Ryan was trolling us, by the way.
Yes, I see that. He says, when I say Tyra, I mean Lyra and Tatum, LOL. Yeah, I thought you were maybe talking about Tyra May Steele. I didn't know if she had earned a protect at all costs. She's got a good, decent beginning. But yes, that makes sense, Lyra and Tatum. Goodfellas says, I wonder if Oba will be off TV to the Rumble instead of a holdover feud in NXT. Yeah, when a monster loses a championship, it's pretty common that they end up taking some time off TV. You don't want them out there looking vulnerable right away. When they come back, just have Hulk smash again when he comes back, basically. So the call up could be now, or it could be I'm always saying everybody's gonna appear at the Rumble, just because I'm old and that's what they used to do with these guys all the time. It has not been the way in recent years necessarily. There haven't been a lot of guys who got that big diesel push in their first Rumble, but maybe him. Where was I? Sorry, I was reading the comments. Obafemi, yes. How can I lose my place on Obafemi? Ricky Starks showed up dressed really well, and I think he's trying to keep up with the former champion's sense of style because Oba is the coolest man in the room. But yeah, I wasn't surprised to see him not on the show, but interesting they didn't mention him either. Like you would think the announcers would say, where's Obafemi? He needs to be in this match. But they had to keep that under wraps. So yep. That's a lot of talk about a guy who was not appearing in this film. So let's move on. So the two matches that got people into the Survivor Series matches were Miles Bourne over Josh Briggs. Wasn't sure which way this would go because they're both getting decent sized pushes. I do dare say Bourne needed the win more. 10 minutes and 14 seconds. Frankie Kazarian cost Josh Briggs the match. So I would think maybe Briggs costs Frankie in the match next week. Maybe Frankie is the first one who goes out because he is 106 years old and he gets pinned. He's still good too, by the way. Like I'm not slighting it really, even though I joke about how old he is. But yeah, so Miles over Briggs in 10:14, and then Lola Vice just destroyed Fallon Henley in 3:47. So that was that. Oh, and then we got the scene with Lainey Reed, who obviously was the attacker. Who else would it be? But it didn't really look like Lainey Reed to me during the attack. So I think maybe all that ninja stuff was just them not having Lainey Reed there because she couldn't be there.
Yeah.
But after the fact, they said it was her, even though I'm not sure the body type matches up. Okay, so on Bourne over Briggs and Vice over Henley, and any of the scenes that led to these matches happening.
So yeah, I mean, Fallon Henley versus Lola Vice. I mean, this it was a good match for what it was, and so it was basically a speed match. It was like 3 or 4 minutes long. Lola, I mean, she's got a lot of momentum right now. We did a lot of talking about her on the VIP roundtable for No Mercy. the I see where the company's going with her and the direction for her and why, but man, I've said it a million times at this point. I really want to see her turn heel, like sooner rather than later. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think she's going to make she does make a better heel than a face. That said, Fallon Henley, I feel like is being so underutilized right now. Like to the point that I've asked myself, who did she piss off backstage? And I don't think that's the case, but she went from being North American champion, feuding with Tiffany Stratton, to now she's a sidekick for JC Jane, and she's especially with Jasmine Nix gone, if she's going to be the one eating pins, in Fatal Influence from now on, unless Lainey Reed winds up joining the group, which could certainly happen, especially after, and we even saw shades of that even before Jasmine Nix left the company. Lainey has had a couple interactions with Fatal Influence that have made us kind of say, huh, maybe. But I mean, even then, if Lainey does join, I feel like they're trying to push her right now, and she might not wind up getting, she might not wind up being the one to eat the pins. So it may continue to be Fallon Henley. So yeah, I would like to see better for her. I think she's got much higher ceiling than just sidekick, eating pins, and stuff like that. Maybe right now this is just what she's doing, and there are bigger and better things in store for her. But there's that. What was you said another match? Was it Briggs and Bourne?
Yeah, the two qualifying.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to thank those of you in the chat who caught me when I said Frankie cost him. It was not Frankie. It was Matt Cardona.
Yeah.
So I was taking swipes at Frankie's age for no reason. Like I didn't even have to bring him up. I could have been taking some kind of swipe at Matt Cardona, but I forgot about it. So
it's funny you said that, because when you said Frankie Kazarian, I'm like, did I miss that? I'm like going back through my notes. I was like, I'm pretty sure it was Cardona. But yeah, again, this, I think this is a great match. I like the fact that they're putting over on commentary both of these guys really, really hard. I'm a big fan of both of them. Less so a big fan. I'm less so of a fan of that stupid thing on Briggs' shoulder, and I'm going to mention it every time until it's gone. I hate that stupid smoking skull during his entrance. It doesn't look cool. That said, great match. Miles Bourne, I really would like to see, and the fact that they're comparing him to Randy Orton on commentary, and they've done that before. I feel like they've got big things in store, or in mind anyway, for Miles Bourne. And Josh Briggs, we talked about it last week. We also talked about on the Paul Weigel, David Miller, and I did the VIP roundtable after No Mercy. We talked a little bit about it. But Josh Briggs, kind of becoming that, gatekeeper type character within NXT, and then eventually the main roster, kind of in a similar vein to Baron Corbin, or as Kelly always says, if you can be the Miz, be the Miz. I don't necessarily mean in gimmick, but in that gatekeeper type role where you kind of flirt with the flirt with the main event, but also but mostly kind of stick in the upper mid card there. And I think that's kind of where I see Josh Briggs landing, which is a great place for him to be in, and I think he'd be able to pull that off pretty well. With Matt Cardona, I'm really curious as to why and I think somebody even in the chat asked why Matt Cardona, I think it was way up there, and I'm not sure where it was right now, but why Matt Cardona was the one to interfere. So I'm assuming we're going to see something kind of maybe come of that, especially where none of these men are in the Survivor Series match. We also only have 4 matches announced for next week. Now, granted, 2 of them are Survivor Series style matches, so maybe that's why they might wind up going long. But there's certainly a possibility that a 5th match gets added even during the show. And I don't know, maybe it's Cardona and Cardona and Briggs or something like that. I don't know. But I almost feel like it's a missed opportunity to not have Cardona on this show. To not have him as part of the Survivor Series match, I think makes sense because he's the indie god. He's not the TNA god, even though he is on the TNA roster. But I feel like it's a missed opportunity to not have him as part of this show, especially if they are going to be utilizing him. I was wondering if they were even like, I was very surprised to see him show up last week because, I guess just because of the whole Zack Ryder thing, and he's just kind of he's even come out and said like nobody from WWE has called him. Now, granted, he could be working, right? Like nobody's called him over the years to come back. Could be working, and those calls have come, and he just said no. That could be the case, but very surprised to see him. Like I said, I think it could just be either a missed opportunity to not have him on the show in a wrestling capacity, or they're planning a fifth match with him and where he may be involved. So, yeah, there we go.
There is some level of bad blood with certain talents. Somebody earlier on said they were really hoping that that the former Tom Phillips and Aiden English would show up. The former Aiden English I really like as an announcer. His real name is
fantastic.
Matt. He's worked under a lot of different last names. I don't know which ones he's using right now. But he has said some not so nice things about WWE since his release, like quite a few different times. So not surprised that he has yet to be one of the people who has shown up in this. So there you go. It's going to drive me nuts. What was, is it Ray? What Matthew Raywalt is his name?
Yeah, he's gone by Matt Marquis, Matt Morris. And Matt Raywalt.
Matt Morris was the other one I was thinking of. He did in New Japan Strong. He was the announcer for kind of a while, and actually wrestled on it a few times, unbelievably. But yes, I saw a lot of him there. This week, I'm going to remember to read Kevin Catani's email because he did indeed send one, and you can send one at pwtorchnxt@gmail.com. Greetings and salutations, gents. I hope this email finds you well. I think the word on my brain right now is wow. They are leaning full force into this TNA invasion, and I'm here for it. I love seeing folks like Moose and Frankie Kazarian on WWE programming, and I popped loud when the indie gods showed up. It's only a matter of time before we have a Cardona Green reunion. Anybody up for a Cardona Green versus Rollins Lynch versus Punk Lee three-way tornado tag? Me, no, because then I would be seeing Cardona and Green wrestle. From a business perspective, other than exposure, what does TNA get out of this current arrangement? Thanks as always. Go VIP and listen to 8YB. Office hours are now over. The Professor, Kevin P. Catani, PhD. Yeah, Kevin, sorry I forgot to do your email last week. I didn't notice that until about 5 minutes after we wrapped up the show. But thankfully we did cover anything. Other than exposure, what does TNA get out of it? I think that's all they really need, right? More eyeballs equals more money. And this is the most TNA has been on my radar since AJ Styles had short hair and had no personality. Like that is how long it's been since I was a regular viewer of TNA. Like the main events of the shows were Styles versus Samoa Joe. It has been a long time since I was watching TNA. Like even some of the eras that people were telling me to watch Lashley in there and watch Angle in there. I just never did any of that stuff. I was interested to see Angle, especially because he was a guy I loved before he left. But yeah, I never made time for it, and I could actually see doing it now. Maybe not weekly, certainly with all the wrestling I watch, but maybe I would watch this Bound for Glory show if nothing else. Okay. Anything else on his email there?
So first off, I do want to see that triple threat tornado tag, Cardona, Green, Rollins, Lynch, Punk, Lee. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I think higher on Cardona and Green than you are. But
Everyone is, but
I know.
Green is a really bad wrestler, and Cardona is just, I don't know, just kind of dull, I guess. Whatever. I did quite the drive by there. I realize that, but yeah, I just don't think.
But yeah, but yeah, in terms of TNA, what do they get out of this arrangement? The other thing that they could potentially be getting is kind of tips and advice and help with like production stuff. Like for example, if you go to the TNA website right now, it's been overhauled, in the last handful of months. Their roster page has been overhauled, and it looks very, very similar to WWE's roster page, except instead of little squares, they're rectangles, but otherwise looks very, very similar. So I mean, I think it's a good relationship overall, and a good kind of collaboration, as Derek puts it. The collaboration, Derek Mitchell in the chat, the collaboration benefits TNA by showcasing its brand and athletes to a global WWE audience, and hopefully gets TNA a TV deal on a better network from Access TV. And I think that's, I don't think I could have said it better myself. I think that's pretty much exactly it. But I also think there's probably some backstage benefits as well. If you want to become a bigger wrestling company, what better place to learn how to be a bigger wrestling company than the WWE? So I'm sure there's some of those benefits there as well.
Yeah, Steve Repsher says add Montez and Bianca and make it a 4-way. And then, hear me out, remove Green and Cardona and make it a 3-way. Perfection. We found it. Good job, everyone. We workshopped it to a great match. Okay, so let's go to Lash Legend versus Jada Parker. 907. Jada Parker, another person who was in need of a win. She's taken a lot of pins, and she took a bonus pin because she wasn't supposed to be booked in that speed match, but they needed somebody because they had a match. They had time for the match set aside, and they put Jada in it. And then, I do like fun. They're just not. Lash Legend versus Jada Parker. Jada in 907 over Lash Legend, but Jada really needed it, and she was going into the. And I wondered where it was headed, but it was just headed to her being in this match. There was something I was going to mention earlier on, but the chat has been very, very good today, so I've missed some of the stuff that I was going to bring up. But somebody said
sure, blame the chat.
Mara Sade. No. I'm blaming the liveliness of the chat for me not being able to catch up with it. They said if Mara Sade was going to be in the match, then why not Lash Legend? And I get that kind of, but they never were against each other. And also maybe they don't want to play around with that too much and get people too excited for the idea of like a reunion or anything like that, because it's not going to happen. They're committed to Lash as a single. That was Ryan Solorio also apparently who brought that up. And I just think maybe they're not doing that because they don't want to do that and tease that reunion. I don't know what they're doing with Lash. It keeps seeming like she's been called up. It kind of seems like she's not really on NXT anymore. She's in that weird Roxanne thing where every single week I was surprised to see her still there. Like, you still go here? Like, every week I think that about her. I keep thinking the call up is imminent or has even happened, and it just happened. Just has not. Derek Mitchell says Jada Parker is a surefire star on the main roster with her charisma and swagger. Yep, I've been saying that since match 1, and I believe it so much. And I love her, and I don't know why not the call up, other than to say timing. Ryan Solorio says she just needs a new finisher, Derek. I don't know if she does. I love Hypnotic, and it's gimmicky, but it also seems lights out just because they always sell it so well, like they've just been
Yeah.
run over by a truck. So I actually like it, even though if you tell somebody and don't show them, they're going to be like, "There's no way that should be a finisher." But I don't know. And Steve Repsher, thank you. He says best chat in PWTorchdom. Dr. Catani says so. He does.
Yes, he
And I
does.
say it, and Nate says it, and yeah, I've been doing some different shows, and you know what? All of them have pretty good, lively chats. But I just love being here at home. And if we ever get invaded by the TNA chat, I'm going to be on those front lines, and
That's right.
I will name 4 of you to
If we get
to
invaded
go.
by ProWrestling.net.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Did I give you Legend versus Parker? Are you satisfied there?
No, you didn't. So to be completely honest, I missed the beginning of this match. Some work stuff came up, so I didn't see the entire thing. But what I did see, I thought it was pretty good. I'm glad Jada finally gets a win. I feel like she's always losing. I don't know. Maybe I just remember the losses more than the wins, but. Her loss for she lost the Speed Championship match. She lost at Heat Wave. It's like every big match she has, and not that this is a big match, but it's like every big match she winds up losing, and she's on fire. She is so over right now. So I'm glad to see her finally get a win, especially over somebody like Lash, who is larger, more kind of more imposing, than Jada. So I think it's a good thing for her. Where it goes from here, I don't really know. Because like you said, what is Lash doing right now? I feel like, it was the Metaphor call up or the Meta Girls call up, I guess, and then Jakara winds up, leaving the company or I guess getting cut from the company, and I feel like that kind of just knocked Lash kind of into that limbo. Not that they weren't already in that limbo, because we were already talking about that, but I think it kind of just cemented her in that limbo for right now. If I had to guess, I would say she's still probably an NXT talent with a call up coming, but we'll see. Yeah, I think that's really all I get to talk about there.
Okay. Yeah, that opening scene, Starks and Jane and Ava and Santino and Santana and Jordan. It was a lot. We haven't really talked about the plot convenience playhouse of Kalani Jordan repping TNA, even though Trick is not. So the baby face is an outsider and the heel is an insider. It's very weird. And maybe they're getting along with it. I mean, they tried to at least explain it. It's very strange, but they did try to explain it by Jordan saying, "Hey, when I became Knockouts champion, I took out on all responsibilities," which is a little bit like very company, whatever. I don't know. I don't know if they're getting away with it or not. But yeah, we had that scene, but we've already kind of covered those guys. Evans and Slater in that opening scene, I thought that was fun. Them just being like, "Oh yeah, we'll have a match with you." The calling,
Yep.
and Lyra was out there looking like a 10 tonight, frankly. Starks and Evans, Trick, Bourne, Troy, Briggs. Oh yeah, the tease with Jasper Troy I thought was very funny. He stands up because he thinks he's being spoken about because he's big and strong, but Trick was talking about Josh Briggs. I thought that was an odd way to use him.
I didn't actually even notice that. I'm glad you pointed that out.
Oh, Ren and Kendall, they were the latest ones to have to do a makeup commercial because that is something that the NXT has to do right now. JC and Saul Ruka, the Lokla, yeah, all that stuff. Oh, the Hardy Boys, they had a pre-taped segment, and it's, they didn't show up and wrestle, but just seeing them cut a promo is fun, even though they're never going to be top flight promo guys, but I think that they got good enough, and they've been good enough for a long time, and their ring work carries them to places that their voices cannot.
Just hearing that music tonight, even though it was in a pre-recorded segment, it gets my blood pumping. Just saying.
Yep. Yeah, Kalani and Jordan. Oh yeah, we've got the Joe Hendry and Jordan Grace.
Say his name and he appears.
There it is.
I've been waiting all night. Been waiting.
Oh. Uh, yeah. So that was that. They both want to be on the show, so they're gonna be, because they wouldn't have teased that line if they weren't going to be on the show. Oh, Ryan Slorio dropped one in. He said, "By the way, why does Alicia Fox and Thea Hill screaming at each other seem right?" LOL.
It does.
I didn't notice that was Alicia because I was so busy trying to identify everybody. I did not see that. I was just happy they had Thea Hale on TV because I think that they were right to be pushing her a couple of times, and they're I don't know. She's a lot of fun. Derek Mitchell says, I think the Hardys should win the NXT titles to complete the circle of winning all of the tag team titles in WWE. Yeah, that circle, that's got many sides. That's at least a hexagon, pentagon at this point, with all the championships that they have won. The NXT never have won the NXT championships. Now, they've never really been in a position to do so, but yeah, winning those would be another notch on their belt, which would be super fun as well. Dark State even brought that up. They're like Saquon Sugar said, you're 8 million time champions or whatever. So yeah, I guess we're kind of at the end. Dark State, and then did we talk about Lanny Reed joining Fatal Influence? Or she's going to.
We kind of touched on it, yeah.
And they mentioned Jasmine by name. They just said Jasmine, and they wrote her out of the story. Somebody in the chat said they appreciated they wrote her out rather than just wiping her from existence, which I guess is true. But yes, Jasmine Nix did indeed leave the company very shortly after.
Hey, NXT's got a history of it. We're still mourning the loss of Two Dimes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's dead within that company. Killed by guys who became baby faces. Oh well. Anything else on this particular show? Yeah, this was
not really. I think this was it was a fun show. It was a very fun show, and I think it's leading up to what could be a very fun crossover show next week. As we've pointed out a couple times throughout the course of the night, historically invasion angles like this have not gone great. So I'm hoping this is that exception to the rule. I think it has potential to be a one of the better shows NXT's put on, in at least TV anyway, in quite a while.
Steve Repture says Tony D was in the promo for Halloween Havoc. Tony D has had a habit of being on the posters for PLEs and then not being booked. Like, that has happened to him at least 3 times, I think, because they get closer to the show and they're like, what are we thinking putting Tony on this show? And then they don't do it. Yeah, this is, I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Follow-up will be interesting. We'll see if they ever really cared about this or if this is just huge counter programming that they will wipe from the existence of what they were doing after a couple of weeks. But yeah, if nothing else, it's given us a good couple of weeks. Thank you for convincing me to be here when I'm going through some stuff, because this would have been a hell of a show to miss. So I'm glad you.
I told you, usually when you're not feeling up to doing the show, you do the show anyway, and you're glad you did. So I'm glad you came.
Yep, and you were right. You know me a little better than I know me, I think, at this point. That is our show, folks. I'm Kelly Wells. You can find me at other Kelly Wells on Blue Sky or on Threads at spookymilk.games. Nate, who are you?
Nate Lindberg. You can check the things I do out at natelindberg.com. We do have one more question, though, from Derek. Any thoughts about Showdown versus Title Tuesday in terms of counter programming? It's the 3rd time in the last 3 years NXT versus AEW in October. I personally, in terms of the whole counter programming thing, it's business. I think, I mean, I don't think WWE is necessarily trying to squash AEW like a bug by any stretch of the imagination. But I mean, if you run like, I don't know, Joe's ice cream shop or Nate's ice cream shop, and there's an ice cream shop across the street, and they're putting on some sort of a special, you're gonna probably want to do the same thing. So that's how I look at the counter programming. I mean, a lot of people look at it as predatory and WWE trying to run other companies out of business. If they were doing it to counter program a smaller promotion, yeah, okay, maybe. But I feel like it's, like I said, it's just business.
Yeah, and I'm not paying enough attention to AEW to be able to comment on like what kind of show they're putting on or anything like that.
Yeah, same.
There's not much to say about it from WWE's perspective. I mean, there's like some level of slime to it, but this is just what they do. It's what they've always done. They've done this since the 80s. The Royal Rumble was only created because they wanted it to go against, I think it was Starcade, but somebody can step in if that was a different show that they were up against.
That sounds right, but I'm not sure myself.
Yeah. Derek says, thank you, Nate and Kelly, for a great post show. Thank you, chat, for a great post show. Cheers, and we will see you in 7.
Horseshoe.